Hello everyone, today I'm bringing you my definitive Shattered Veil Easter egg guide. This is a comprehensive walkthrough built on hours of validating every step, testing out the optimal strategies, and incorporating all of the discoveries that the community have made since launch. This is a long guide, so don't forget to use the chapters that I've put into the description. Let's get started with loadouts. My favourite weapon to run here is the CR56 AMAX from the new season. Showing it here with the Jason Armory 2X, but I prefer to use the Volzivsky reflex, if you can even say that. Next up, you obviously want Suppressor for salvage. The Reinforced Barrel is good, but if you want to skip using your gun as soon as you pick up the RayGun, then you might as well go for the CHF for extra headshot damage. The Launcher is really helpful for picking up seeds. You obviously want the Extended Mag. I love the Commando Grip for the aim down sight and sprint to fire speed boost that you get. Light stock, I think, is probably the best for movement, but you can also look at the balanced stock here, which is just as good. And finally, you can either choose to run the recoil springs if you want to have a bit more of a stable build, or you can run the FMJs to help with bullet penetration on hordes. And looking at the XM4 now, this is a very similar build that you might run on Liberty with a hybrid scope enabling you to shoot long and far, again with a suppressor, reinforced barrel. You can also use the crossbow on the seeds, so this is a very viable option. You do get a much bigger mag here with the XM4. It's the same commando grip. Buffer stock, you can use if you want absolutely no recoil, but it's much better to use the light stock in my opinion. And we finish off with the 3-round burst for the headshot enthusiasts. Looking at the rest of your loadout, your field upgrade is totally up to you unless you're going to be going for some of the more advanced strategies here, in which case you might want to start off with Energy Mine. But Frenzied and Aether Shroud are solid choices. Decoys are also pretty handy here, and then for your lethal, I like to start off with the Blast Trap, as you'll see in a sec, but Combat Axes and C4s are also good options. If we take a quick look at Gobblegums here, using these is totally up to you. I personally prefer to try and play without them for most of the time, but it can be really fun to use them in a game with some friends. Power Keg is really helpful for the boss fight, so I totally recommend that. Shields Up is another fantastic one for the boss fight. And Tactical Diffusion, if you compare that with two of the other epic Gobblegums, Profit Sharing and Double Points, then you can bag your team a whopping amount of points right at the start of the game. Dead Drop is great if you're looking for extra salvage, and Nowhere But Here can help you get your team out of a pickle because you might not be that close to each other here. And then you have Free Fire, which is used for a bit of a cheese method to do the boss, but it can be quite fun, so give it a go. Looking at the legendary Gobblegums here, the obvious one is Wall Power. Since there are GS45s available as a wall buy in the starting area, you can bag yourself a really easy start to the game by using this. And finally, taking a look at the Ultra Gums, Wonder Bar and Near Death are probably going to have the biggest impact on your game here. If you're playing in groups, a Wonder Bar can make a big difference, as more than one person can end up with the Wonder Weapon. And obviously a near-death experience is dead helpful during the boss fight. My personal favourite out of all of these is the indigestion. I love hearing the zombies fart. Moving on to the last bit of a setup, we're going to take a look at augments. For stamina up, I love running Dasher and Hotfoot here, both giving you a speed boost. For quick revive, personally I think EMT is really great for group games, and Dying Wish is probably a bit better for solo games. I also like running Swift Recovery. For Juggernog, I love Probiotic, giving you the extra health, and Hardened Plates is a must here. However, if you want to see something fun, I recommend looking at Donut's video to check out why he recommends the Turtle Shell. For Speed Cola, I've always run Classic Formula and Quick Swap, but in this map, I've switched over to using Supercharged and Fast Pitcher. It's really helpful to get your field upgrades back a lot quicker and be able to deploy a decoy or blast trap when you're in a muddle. Taking a look at Vulture Aid, Parting Gift and Picky Eater are essentials here. It's really helpful to get Wonder Weapon ammo back if you're using the RayGun and also the Wonder Waffle. Checking out Flopper now, PhD Slider is my personal favourite, particularly when paired with Tribologist. However, if you're not comfortable using that strategy, then Dr. Ram is a good one. And Environmentalist will also protect you from the toxic spills, both from the toxic zombies and during the boss fight. Checking out Deadshot Daiquiri now, Deadhead is a must. I also like to run it with Dead Break. This is particularly helpful when pairing it with some of the double tap augments. I thoroughly recommend that you check out Donut's video about double tap to fully understand how the augments work here. The headlines are that Double Jeopardy and Double Time are the only ones that work with the Wonder Weapons, and then probably the strongest pairing that you can get of Double Impact and Double Time. Lastly, looking at Elemental Pop, there is a stage in the egg where you are required to use Brain Rot. I always think that the pairing of Citrus Focus and the reduced cooldown time are most helpful here if you are going to have Elemental Pop on, but they're not essential. Speaking of Brain Rot, Plague and Haste are my much preferred augments to run here, although Pheromone can actually be really handy, acting as a mini decoy when it procs. Lightmend is also worth covering here because both the Mega Disciples and the Doppelgas have elemental weakness to it. I like to run Antibiotic and Extra Strength here, and these have recently been fixed in the Season 3 update. Finishing up with the field upgrades here. Starting off with Energy Mine. If you're planning on using some of the advanced strats or even just having an easier time with it, the turret and the extra charge are definitely the augments to run here. You can also consider Siren if you want another decoy-like effect that can get you out of a muddle with some zombies. Frenzied is another super important field upgrade. Retribution and Extension are definitely the ones to run here, particularly if you're going to run a solo game. Although if you are running a group game, then Phalanx and Rally can give your team a valuable boost. Last, but definitely not least, we have Aether Shroud. For group play, the Group Shroud augment is going to offer you a lot of protection during the boss fight. For solo games, you might consider the Burst Dash augment instead. Whether group or solo, I thoroughly recommend using Extension, as that is going to enable you to do one of the Easter egg steps in one charge. Finally, getting into some of the fun stuff. One of the big reasons I love this map is that as soon as you load in, you can get started collecting these key items. We're going to be going through and showing you the best path to take to get all of these on your way to Pack-a-Punch. Starting with the seeds, you'll see these ether-like seed pods that you might recognise from a tomb. Hitting these with your grenade launcher, shooting them with the napalm ammo burst, or later when you've got the ray gun, or even the crossbow, as well as other explosives like grenades and mustangs, are all going to give you a seed. You need 4 from a possible 9 locations. You're also going to want to keep your eye out for these white Project Janus boxes. They're either going to give you a vermin, some salvage, or one of the key items, the essence bomb. Opening up left towards Quick Revive is going to bring you to this fountain where you can pick up another of your key items, the first of the reflect discs. Keep your eyes peeled for more seeds and Project Janus boxes as you make your way up to the mansion. This is a nice place to play the toxic zombie round, as you've got plenty of space and you can use mantling to slow them down. As you enter the house, you should have enough salvage now to make your gun green. If you've been lucky with box spawns, then you may even have enough salvage to buy an ammo mod as well, and I'd recommend Lightmend here. But every game is different, so don't panic if you haven't got this yet. The next port of call is heading over to Jug. Top tip, if you melee the perk machine and then interact with it, you can actually skip the drinking animation, which can save you some time. If you want to rack up some points ahead of going on to the next areas, then this is a good time to use your decoy in the blast trap. It's also just a lot of fun to see the zombies go flying through the air. And you may even get a load of killer drops from it that can help you progress in your game, like a double points, or maybe you need an armor top up. After this, I like to head left and open up towards Flopper. You can pick up a combat axe by the bed, which is going to be helpful later, and you can also buy Flopper, with the second perk buying top tip being if you dive towards the perk machine and interact with it, you will also pick it up without actually having to drink it. If you are using PhD Slider, then you're going to be able to navigate around the map sooner and also use it to help clear zombies. Now you need to be in a sprint mode to be able to trigger the slide. If you're intending to try and chain multiple together, make sure that you have enough space to be able to re-trigger the new slide. Having picked up Flopper, head onto the balcony immediately outside and you'll find another fountain where you can pick up the second reflector disc. Keep working your way around looking for seeds and boxes until you reach Richtofen's bedroom, where you're going to need to shoot his computer to pick up the circuit that is one of the parts you'll need to help repair the lift. You can now drop down onto the balcony below and keep searching through boxes and collecting plant seeds. You'll see here that I found my essence bomb in one of these boxes. This is also where the double points can be found, sitting up against a fallen down tree. This is a great place to earn some extra points to help buy your perks and open doors and even pack. One word of warning is just that I would try not to go past the end of round 9 here, as we're trying to make it downstairs for the start of round 10 to find a special zombie that will drop another item for us. You can see in the gameplay here that I just had a proc of the Pheromone augment for Brain Rot and how handy that can be for you. If you didn't manage to buy Lightmend earlier, then now's the time, or you may even have enough salvage to get blue, before going on to get double tap. We're going to keep working our way around towards the library now, and next up on the item agenda is the bell, much like the one you can see here. There are 4 spawn locations and the bell can be hard to see, so if you're having trouble, start marking around the room and eventually you'll find it. Armed with the bell, we're going to be heading immediately next door into the library. If you head towards the ladder, we're going to be looking for the zombie electrician, who's going to drop the fuse for us. This is the second of the 2 parts that we need to fix the elevator. Having picked that up, we'll head back towards the lift or elevator for our American friends. On the way, we'll check this cardboard box to pick up the sconce, and that is going to complete our set of key items, all before we reach Pack-a-Punch. To get downstairs, you need to go behind the lift, make the repair, and then call it. Doing so will open the doors up to a group of zombies. If you can, I recommend not just calling the lift, but having it fully open before you finish your kills. This means you can head downstairs as the round is changing, and you'll be on site for the start of round 10. Having rappelled down the elevator shaft, you'll enter the mainframe room where you'll be greeted by Fake Sam. And there are 2 staircases on either side of the room that will take you up towards Pack-a-Punch, where you're also going to find another free combat axe. Next up, it's time to start working on the free RayGun Mk II Quest. If you're not already at round 10, then you're going to want to spin some rounds until you are, because we're going to be on the lookout for the lab technician special zombie spawn, who I've affectionately referred to as Tennis Waffle. Killing this zombie is going to drop the floppy disk, the first item we need for the RayGun Mk II Quest. It can be quite easy to miss, particularly if there are loads of zombies around, so keep your eyes peeled and make sure you scan the area for any drops. If you don't see anything at all, then you may not have been in the room for the start of the round, or you may have opened up towards the service tunnel and he may have followed you out there. Armed with the floppy disk, you're going to want to head back upstairs, round past where you picked up the bell, into the library, pick up double plate armor if you have enough money, and then insert the floppy disk you've just picked up into that computer. Doing so correctly, you'll see the screen turn red. If you are tight for money, you can nip upstairs and shoot the bonus points hiding in the window. Now, if you don't open up this door, which leads back through to the main foyer with the dinosaur skeleton, then you can happily stand at the top of the stairs and the zombies will path up towards you to make things easy. Whilst you've been killing the vermin, the fax has been printing on the machine next to the computer. It has a message showing one of 4 words: crab, moth, worm, or yeti. You're going to take this word and head back to the chalkboard next to flopper, where you're going to translate this code word into a 4-digit number. Whether you're solo or in a group, a nice tip to buy yourself some time to translate the code is to just pause your gameplay whilst you're looking at the chalkboard. Since there are 4 different possible code words and 4 different chalkboards, that gives a total of 16 different combinations. The number of letters in each group determines the digit. So for crab, C is in a group of 5, R and A are in groups of 7, and B is in the same group as C in a group of 5, giving us 5, 7, 7, 5. To make this easier, I'll add a link in the description to a cheat sheet for these answers. We're going to use this code to open up the enclosure where the Doppelgast is. To make this fight easier, you can shoot the insta-kill sitting in the elevator shaft. I always like to look for the second red light and use that as a reference point. Then you run over to the cage, enter your code, and if you've got the insta-kill, light mend and some rarity on your gun, this is going to be a super easy fight. You can shoot through the glass to get an early advantage in it. Just be careful not to get hit by one of the toxic zombies that comes flying out. Once he's dead, pick up the severed arm and you're going to head down through the service tunnel towards where the armory is in the supply depot. If you haven't found the essence bomb yet from one of the white boxes, there is another location in here. Place the arm you've just picked up on the scanner, and here you go, shiny new RayGun Mk II. We can now go start working on some of the canisters, which you'll need to get to craft the variants of the RayGun. But before we do, we're going to take a quick break to do one of the side Easter eggs. So this is the sleepwalking Easter egg, and it needs to be started on round 11. Head to Elemental Pop and interact with the face of this grandfather clock. If done correctly, you'll see the hand spin round. Then you'll need to run down to Richthofen's bedroom, go prone on the bed, and finish any zombies from there. If you're in a co-op game, everybody involved has to be prone on the bed. You'll know that you've done this right because the screen will go dark temporarily on the round change and you'll hear some bells ringing. Now the reason I'm suggesting this egg is that there's a really good chance of getting a purple ether wrench out of it, which is going to save you a bunch of salvage. Upon waking up, you're going to see white footprints on the ground. You can get out of bed, but pretty quickly you're going to need to make sure that you crouch so as not to wake up the sleeping zombies. Follow the footprints around in whatever direction they go in. There are several different ways that these can go. You don't need to worry about any of the zombies, but you do just need to make sure you head quickly towards the box because this is a timed event. Now you're going to be on the lookout for an armoured zombie with coloured Zeds coming out of him. You can choose to shoot him and end things early, and you're still going to get some rewards. One time I actually got a Kashmir out of this, which I think is still pretty decent. However, if you don't shoot him and you collect the key from his belt, then you're going to get better rewards from a larger box. Aside from hopefully getting the purple ether wrench, you're going to get perks, and if it's the first time doing this, you're also going to grab one of the documents. If you want to see a full guide for all of the intel locations, then you can check out my video here. This is actually one of the best ways of reaching gold rarity on your gun while still at a low round for the boss fight. Back to business now, and next up we're going to be working on the canisters. There are 3 canisters that you need to get an upgrade. The first one can be found in this cryopod. If you look to the left of it, you're going to see a sign on the wall that's either going to read A or B. This is what we needed the combat axes that I showed you where to pick up earlier. Head to the area next to where you opened up the doppel chamber. You're going to see 3 valves. The leftmost one is already spewing gas. You're going to need to hit the middle one, and then one of the 2 on the right corresponding to your letter. In my game it was B, so I've thrown the axe at B. The trick to hitting these first time is lining up the bottom of the reticule from the axe with the bottom of the valve you're intending to throw at. You can then head back into the mainframe room and you'll see that the cryopod is now filled with gas. This can be broken open with any type of explosive. Your grenade launcher, Mustangs, Molotovs, any equipment will work fine. You can see here I crafted a Semtex to give you some different gameplay, and that also broke it. Once you've broken it open, a canister will come out which you can pick up for your first one. For another of the canisters you're going to need to use a cashmere grenade, and luckily there's a free one sitting in the service tunnel. If you come to this body lying in the ground, you're going to see it sitting in its hand. Pick it up and head upstairs to just behind double tap. There's a canister sitting inside this spawn point on top of a barrel. You're going to need to throw your canister in front of the window to drag it out. Now it is possible to get this wrong here, so I find the easiest method of doing this is just to throw it in the grass right in front of it so it bounces towards the rubble. Throwing your cashmere directly at the rubble can work, but it can also bounce too far away from the window to drag the canister out. If you're trying to keep a low round and playing solo here, I recommend pathing the zombies away from this before you throw the cashmere so they don't get sucked in and it flips around. For the last canister you are actually going to need the RayGun for this. It can be found sitting in one of 4 possible ether cocoons. It's not a bad idea to shoot all of the ether cocoons even if you find a canister in the first one, as you can end up getting some salvage and valuable equipment from them. So far in the gameplay we've seen one next to PhD Flopper, one down at the conservatory, one in the eastern hallway, and the last one can be found downstairs at the end of the service tunnel. I tend to get this one as soon as I've picked up the RayGun for the first time, as the armory is right next door. Whilst this next step I'm showing is actually a later part in the Easter egg, it's not a bad idea to get it done now, as you're passing the area anyway and it gives you one less thing to do later. It's a game of Simon Says, triggered by placing the sconce that you picked up earlier in this hole in the wall. Interacting with it will then cause one of the 2 lights to flash. There are 3 sequences and you just have to mirror their order. One thing to note is that anytime you interact with a sconce, the flash will last longer, and anytime it's showing you the order to complete, it will flash a lot more quickly. Now that we've collected all of the canisters, we can get to work on the RayGun variant upgrade quests. The W or Ray Fire variant quest takes place at Shem's Henge. Insert the canister into the machine which will immediately spawn an abomination. Now the objective here is to get the abomination's laser attack to hit the rocks, causing them to glow. Following this, he'll move around a bit and then he will do a charge attack. This charge attack has to collide with the rock and that will cause the rock to float. You have to repeat this process for all 3 rocks. His initial laser attack will happen very shortly after inserting the canister, so as soon as you insert the canister, immediately run down to the left and stand behind this first rock, as I showed you in the gameplay. This will mean that you won't waste a charge of his laser attack. As you can see, I whittled down the round to just a few zombies. This makes the whole process much easier to accomplish, as you're not having to fight off loads of zombies at the same time. You're going to be spending most of the time kiting him round into position so that his lasers will strike the correct rock. Generally, you're going to want to keep him from getting into the middle circle of rocks like he is in this gameplay. That's because they'll stop his charged attacks and you'll waste an opportunity to hit one of the rocks. If you are playing solo and you're keeping zombies like this, you'll want to be wary of his laser attack because it will damage the zombies. You can break up to 2 of his 3 eyes to interrupt the laser attack to help mitigate this. After kiting him round and getting all 3 rocks lit up, he will disappear immediately. This signals the next phase of the encounter. The only real difference in co-op play is that there will be 2 abominations, and it's perfectly fine to kill one of them if you just want to have one to manage. Once all 3 of the smaller rocks have been lit up and raised, that triggers the next phase of the encounter. The generator in the middle will light up and start sucking in some of the energy from the rocks. At this point, you're going to have to protect it from vermin that spawn in. Unfortunately, since Season 2, I've had a UI bug, like many of you, where you don't actually see the UI showing your progress of the lockdown. This is a timed phase and can be failed if the portal takes too much damage from the vermin. If you're playing solo, then the strat here would be to keep a zombie marked and carefully shoot the vermin around him. If you're in group play, then you can have one player running a zombie around in a different area to make this incredibly easy. But that's not always possible, so what can you do if you're playing with randoms or it's all going a bit wrong? Frenzied Guard can be a massive help, as can the Mustangs, as they are best in class at clearing loads of zombies. But by throwing away the easiest strat, which comes from some of the speedrunners, is plopping down 2 energy mine turrets and running away. You can then cycle back to collect your charged canister. With this canister you can head down to the supply depot, and in this corner you're going to find one of the upgrade benches. This one enables you to craft the Ray Fire upgrade for the ray gun. The canister will stay on the bench, giving you an indication of which variant can be crafted at which bench. Next up, we're going to work on the purple canister, which can be used to craft the preservation variant, or P variant of the ray gun. Head downstairs into the service tunnel and use the essence bomb to break this bit of wall. Going into the cavern, you're going to find Serpent Mound. Immediately head left and you'll find a stand to put your first reflector on. Look across the room and you'll also find a machine to place the canister, as well as a set of mysterious rocks where you can place the second reflector. Placing the canister will trigger this beam of light to bounce around the reflectors and various crystals around the room. This is coming from a crystal close to where you entered the cavern. You'll see that the beam of light ends by hitting a statue of a Doppelgast. You can nudge the positioning of the reflectors by hitting them with melee, as well as moving one of them to a third location. Since our beam of light is already hitting one of the Doppelgast statues, we're going to go ahead and melee the original crystal. This will trigger a pulse of light to bounce around the room, eventually landing on the statue and reanimating the Doppelgast. This Doppelgast is super easy to take down, particularly if you hit the crit spots in its head. We now need to do this another 2 times, so if you head back to the mysterious rocks and pick up the second reflector that you placed down, this is just to the left of where you put the canister. You can then enter this pathway to head upstairs, where you're going to find a third stand for the reflectors. Place the reflector down and melee it. You can then jump down and head to where you placed the first reflector disc. If you melee this as well, it's going to redirect the beam of light to another Doppelgast statue. So again, we're going to melee the original crystal to trigger the beam of light throughout the room, which you can follow to find the second Doppelgast. The third and final time that we do this, it's going to trigger an HVT version of the Doppelgast. But again, this really isn't too much of a struggle. In the gameplay, I'm showing how easy it is to kite around even a toxic zombie. This is in solo, so it's making the whole process that much easier by not having to deal with other zombies. So head over to the original reflector, melee that one more time, and again it's going to redirect the light to a different pathway. Melee the original crystal, and you'll spawn in this HVT. As we've been doing this, you'll see that the serpent in the middle will be gaining a purplish pinkish hue. It's this purple energy that will end up filling the canister. You can see here that it was perfectly easy to take down, even with an unpacked ray gun. Now the last doppel is dead, you'll have to wait a few seconds whilst the energy from the serpent transfers into the canister. As soon as this is done, you can go ahead and pick up the canister, and that's your second one done. If you're a player that's thinking about how to do things more efficiently, I'd recommend starting off by doing this purple canister, because the purple version of the ray gun is so helpful for doing the other steps of the Easter egg. And typically you'll want to take the blue variant into the boss fight, so you'll want to be doing that one last. The crafting location for the purple or preservation variant of the RayGun Mk II is in Richtofen's bedroom. And with that we can move on to the final canister. This takes place in the conservatory. You're going to need to place the canister, and then locate 4 containers where you can plant the seeds. Once you've planted a seed, you're going to need to protect it for 45 seconds until it matures. During this time, purple-eyed event zombies are going to try and attack the seed box. You'll both see and hear it go through various stages of growth, and once it reaches maximum size, it will look just like the other seeds that you've been shooting around the map. I really like to use the purple variant of the ray gun here, or the preservation, or the P variant. Its shotgun-like properties make it really easy to clear a load of zombies quite quickly. If you use hipfire, then you get a wide spread, whilst ADSing is going to give you a much tighter spread. As you see, nukes can be quite helpful here, as long as you're not trying to keep a zombie at the end of a round. If you are doing that, then I really recommend marking the zombie so that you can easily identify which one it is and you don't accidentally shoot him. Frenzied Guard is another really useful tool here, as it will draw all of the zombies away from the seed pods and towards you. You also have a microwave trap nearby, which can really help up when you're doing the bottom 2 seed pods. If you do fail a step here, then the seed will pop out and you can pick it up again and try again on the next round. Just like with the blue canister though, by far and away the easiest strat is to have a friend run a zombie around in a different area. That way you can kill all the zombies you see and you'll just have to deal with the event zombies. On the screen here you can see the seed grow from its middle phase into the final form. That's when you know that the seed is complete. Got some more footage here showing just how strong the purple variant of the RayGun is at clearing these zombies. Really made this process a lot easier for me, and I'd thoroughly recommend it for you guys. One thing I would try to avoid though is doing it on round 15 or 16 when the Elder Disciple spawns, as that will make this significantly harder. You'll not just have the event zombies and the round zombies to deal with, but also the additional vermin that he spawns in. If you find yourself low on ammo and you're trying to clutch it, then you can actually kite the event zombies away from the containers briefly. Don't move too far away from the seed pod containers though. Once you're done, you can pick up the container and head down to the starting area where you'll find the crafting bench for the rot variant or the R variant of the RayGun. Now it is actually possible to do all 4 seed containers in 55 seconds. You're going to need a C4, which you're going to have to run to the end of a service tunnel and plant on the nuke power up. If you jump up on this car and broken fan, you can aim here to hit it on the blue tarp. Hitting the tarp anywhere with a C4 should proc the nuke for you. You're also going to need a cashmere grenade, and you're going to need to have a full charge of frenzied guard with the extended duration. After you've placed the canister and planted the first seed, you're going to want to head around as quickly as you can to this second location, plant that seed, jump down and plant the exterior location seed before immediately throwing your cashmere inside. And immediately after throwing the cashmere, you're going to want to plant the final seed. Cashmere will protect all of the planters whilst you're doing this. The cashmere will last 10 seconds. By now you'll have all the seeds planted and be coming towards the end of the cashmere's life. At this point you need to trigger Frenzied Guard, which will then provide you with another 15 seconds of protection. As you're about halfway through your Frenzied Guard, you should trigger your C4 to drop the nuke. I tend to wait a couple of seconds after coming out of Frenzied Guard to then run over and hit the nuke. At this point, the top 2 seeds should be done. It's a good idea to pop the microwave trap and head down to this position so that you can provide cover for the last 2 planters until you see the event zombies zap and disappear into thin air. You should now have completed all 4 seed pots and be able to go and collect your canister. All credit goes to the speedrunning wizards that have managed to work this out. I've learnt a huge amount from watching players like Scrappy and Kingman play, so I can thoroughly recommend you doing the same thing. If you want to learn some other tips related to C4 and power-ups, then you can watch my ultimate power-up guide for Shattered Veil. And with that, we have access to all 3 RayGun variants. We can move on to the Liminal space quests. Since I had the purple variant of the RayGun to do the seeds, I'm kicking off with the painting next to the elevator, which requires that variant. To start things off, you have to interact with the machine to the left of the painting. That will trigger another set of event-related zombies to come in with the purple eyes. You can see here that I was marking the last round zombie so that I could shoot around him to prevent a whole load of new zombies from spawning in. Once you've shot enough of these zombies, the painting will open up, revealing the first of the liminal spaces behind it. To start any of these liminal quests, you're going to need to remember to hop through the painting and into the actual space behind it, as that will trigger a ghost inside to start giving you some dialogue. The dialogue they give you are actually some subtle hints towards what you need to do next, but you don't need to stay and listen to it. In this case, we need to pick up this red bottle from the end of the table. This will enable us to activate 3 chalices found around the map. The first chalice can be found in the wine cellar area. If you hop up here, you're going to see this empty chalice sitting on the table. Triggering this will spawn in an Elder Disciple. This is easily dispatched with the purple variant of the RayGun. I prefer to ADS to get a tight spread and aim for the head. That will immediately break the mask, and from there it's easy to kill him. Killing each of the 3 disciples will reveal a code on the walls around the elevator shaft, but it's only really worth checking once you've done all 3. The second chalice can be found in the ground foyer with the dino skeleton. It's on the second floor directly opposite him. You can follow the same process that you did for the previous disciple. And once he's dispatched, you head down to spawn, where you're going to find the third and final chalice that will spawn the last Elder Disciple on top of the bridge. After you kill each disciple, you may also notice a glyph that appears on top of the chalice. And after you've killed all 3, you can return back to the elevator shaft and you'll see 3 digits on each of the walls around the elevator. The number on the left-hand side of the elevator is the first one, the number behind it is the second, and the number on the right-hand side as you're looking at it will be your final number. Memorize these digits, and then you're going to want to head back towards Depth Perception, because in that room you're going to find a safe. If If you enter in the code inside the safe there, that will open up and reveal the ritual item that you'll need to complete the Liminal quest related to this painting. I don't know why, but from time to time I actually have a bit of trouble picking this item up. I find the easiest thing to do is just to go prone. Sometimes I have to wait until there's a subtle outline around the ritual item before I can actually pick it up. Anyway, once you've done so, you can head back through into the liminal space and you'll be able to place the sentinel artifact that you've been carrying with you all this time onto this pedestal. It's the same type of pedestal that we saw in the tomb when we were opening up towards the boss fight there. Doing this is going to trigger a lockdown. If you're playing in groups, it will automatically teleport all players into the room, so you don't have to worry about everyone being there. However, probably a good idea to give your teammates a head up before you do so, in case they don't have ammo or plates or something like that. After a short wait, you're going to see an HVT disciple spawn in, except this time they're going to have a shield around them. This shield can only be broken by the correct RayGun variant associated to the liminal space. Once you break the shield, you're going to be able to do damage to the HVT. However, the shield will quickly reform, and once it does, it will be temporarily immune to further damage. This is roughly 1 or 2 seconds. If you're playing solo, don't completely forget about the zombies like I did here. A series of vermin and normal zombies will spawn in, and it's a good idea to deal with them quickly when you can. If you do go down, just remember that since you've got the ray gun, you can continue to do loads of damage whilst you're on the floor, but just pay attention to your bleed out bar so you don't lose a really important perk. If you've forgotten to top up on ammo, then don't worry, because there is an ammo box in the room, and you're also going to get a max ammo from killing the HVT. To access the next liminal space, you're going to need the Rot Blight variant of the ray gun. As a reminder, the crafting bench for this can be found in the starting area where you spawn in. You're going to follow the same mechanic of activating the machine next to the painting, and then shooting the purple-eyed zombies that spawn in. It can be a little bit harder to keep a zombie with this variant because it can create a toxic pool on the floor that will damage all of the zombies that enter it. It will actually also damage you if you're not wearing a flopper. And this pool is pretty powerful. If you have one to hand and you see a pool proc on the floor, then you can try throwing a decoy at it and watching all the zombies die. In solo games, I think it's around 10 zombies that you need to kill before a painting will open up, and it's roughly double that in group games. Same as before, once you've killed enough of the purple-eyed zombies, the painting is going to open up. You're going to need to jump through and into the liminal space again. This is going to trigger a ghost to start speaking about losing something. Each of the ghosts in these liminal areas are actually the same people that are depicted in the portraits. To find the things that the ghost was looking for, you're going to need to use Ether Shroud and run a loop around the map looking for 3 highlighted items in blue. If you don't already have Ether Shroud, then change over to it and you can head downstairs to look for a blue canister. I think there are 4 locations and they're all around the mainframe area. These canisters will actually only be available during this specific step of the Easter egg. Now you've just seen the locations of the first 2 canisters. The third one can be found on the way out of the mainframe area towards the service tunnel. And the last one can be found upstairs on this computer bank, although I don't actually have footage showing them in situ. If you have the extension augment on your Ether Shroud, then it is actually possible to pick up all 3 items in one go. Start off at the fireplace next to the elevator and run around past Elemental Pop to check the study. Then move through the library to check the sofa location, and move past there to look straight ahead of you at the second fireplace. After that, head upstairs and check this desk before running over down towards the bar. As you can see, the items actually persist for a short period after you've come out of your Ether Shroud. I think this is for around 10 seconds. You then need to head back to the library to look for 3 glowing books in the bookcase. You're going to need to interact with these in a specific order. The order is the tape measure or the sideways 6, and then the pie chart looking thing, and then the triangle made up of 3 circles. Doing so will open up the secret door, revealing the nuclear inspection report inside. That's the ritual item you need to start off this encounter. You start off the lockdown again by placing the sentinel artifact down, and this time you're going to be fighting an amalgam. I don't know why they have these long breaks ahead of starting the encounter, but they do. You can probably get away with just having a single pack ray gun, but to make your life a little bit easier, why not go and have a pack 2 ray gun ahead of starting this one? It's the same story of trying to break the shield, and then as soon as the shield's down, trying to get as much damage as you can onto the amalgam. Like before, you'll see immune pop up after the shield regenerates, and you just have to wait a second or 2. This isn't a hard encounter considering that you just have to keep a bit of distance from the amalgam. Once you've defeated him, you'll get another max ammo, and you can approach the Sentinel artifact to watch it get imbued with energy. Picking it up will then open the room back up so you can leave, or if you fancy a bit of a breather, you can take the opportunity to chill for a second. We're now going to be heading to do our third and final Liminal quest. To access this, you're going to have needed to complete the Simon Says step that I mentioned in the mid-game setup. You're also going to need the Wraith Fire or W variant of the RayGun. This can be obtained in the supply depot, which is next to the armory where you originally picked up the RayGun. With that open, head down into the cellar and interact with the machine to the left of the painting again. Same as before, this will spawn in event zombies that you have to kill to open up the painting, because you have to have entered the liminal space before you can do the next steps. Our ghost will be complaining about needing something to drink, and this is where we're going to need brain rot. If you didn't pick this up earlier, now's a good time to do it. Once you have brain rot, head upstairs in the ground foyer area with the dinosaur to the bar area, and you're going to see this glowing blue outline around the bell. If you're not seeing this outline, it's probably because you didn't hop into the liminal space. Make sure you place the bell down, and ideally I would try and do this at the end of the round so you just have a few zombies left, and then you're going to need to proc brain rot on one of the zombies. Once one's rotted, head over and ring the bell, and that will trigger the zombie to go behind the bar. He'll take a big swig and leave you with the metal hip flask that you can return to the liminal area with. If you're really struggling to get brain rot procced on a zombie, then you could always go and buy Elemental Pop, as long as you've got the Citrus Focus Augment that will only apply the ammo mod you have on your weapon. Armed with your last ritual item, you can now head back down to the cellar and trigger the last of the lockdowns. This time round you're going to be fighting a Mangler, but it's still the same story. The Mangler will have a shield, which your RayGun variant will need to break, at which point you can do limited amounts of damage, before the shield pops up and you have to re-break it again. The Mangler is always going to spawn right in front of this brewing vat. If you're playing solo, bear in mind that there are going to be lots of vermin spawning in. If you happen to have any decoys on you, then those will be a big help. Alternatively, just make sure you're running a loop around the room so you can get ahead of any spawns that are coming. And don't forget to make use of your field upgrades. I love using Frenzied for these encounters, particularly with the augments I suggested at the beginning of the video, because that really enables you to just focus on damaging the boss. If you're playing in group games, a good strategy is to allow the player of the RayGun to focus on damaging the HVT, when the other players help clear the zombies. And that's it guys, you can collect your max ammo, watch the Sentinel artifact be fully imbued with the energy, all of the symbols will now be lit up on it, and you can grab it to leave the liminal space, and that's it, you're all done with the steps. Next up we're going to be talking about how to prep for the boss. There are 5 key perks that I think you should always take into the boss fight. Now we started off with Jug, Double Tap and Flopper. I would add Quick Revive and Speed Cola into that mix. With those 5 perks, you really have everything that you need to take on the boss fight. But there are a few others that can also be really helpful. Of those, I'd go with Stamina, Deadshot, and Vulture. If you haven't done so already, then now's the time to buy 3-plate armor. And maybe whilst you're finding some kills to earn some essence, you can be on the lookout for some keys. These will be dropped from Doppelgars and the Disciples, and can be a fantastic way of potentially getting a free chopper gunner, which is an absolute must for the boss fight. Don't just be on the lookout for gold keys though, I've had chopper gunners come out of blue keys and gold keys giving me armor plates. While they can be a hit and miss, Sam Trials are another good way of earning great rewards ahead of the boss fight. You're more likely to get perks and even chopper gunners from Sam Trials than you are from the keys in my experience. You'll also pick up some salvage and some essence. I've spoken about the chopper gunner being a must for the boss, but what about the other score streaks? Well, unfortunately they're just not as good. They do a lot less damage than the chopper gunner, but their advantage lies in the fact that they can do their damage more quickly. The damage they do depends on the round that you enter the boss fight, since score streak damage is related to the zombie health cap, which changes each round. In my experience though, the hand cannon did a lot more damage than the war machine. I've also tried the death machine, which is really fun, but it just doesn't have enough ammo. If you want to get the absolute most out of these score streaks, then I definitely recommend pairing them with a use of Frenzied or Ether Shroud. Now for the Gobblegum users out there, if you take a free fire in and you have a weapon with a crossbow attachment, then you're laughing. It can do so much damage to the boss and he can just continuously fire. You'll see his health absolutely wipe away. Again, if you pair this with something like Frenzied, then you'll be able to maximize the damage that you can output. You can easily complete an entire phase of the boss fight with this strat. If you've got one spare, then why not try a wonder bar to get another wonder weapon for your friend so you can both have the RayGun for the boss fight. If you didn't know, if you've spun the box and you pull out a weapon that you don't want but want to share with your friend, you can melee the box and it will turn green. This allows them to pick up the item, or you can just do a weapon swap on the floor. In terms of other wonder weapons, I've tried the original RayGun on the boss, and to be honest it's not fantastic, but at least it can help clearing the zombies, and it's the same story with the Wonder Waffle. Now one thing you might not have used too much in zombies before is the stim shot, but this is actually a huge help in the boss fight. If you've been slammed in the air, this can quickly help you regain some health. Decoys are always a good shout, particularly if you've got Vulture Aid. Throwing the C4 here can be a lifesaver in the boss fight by providing you with an extra full power. If you're tight on ammo ahead of the boss fight, then you can also shoot the max ammo power up, but refer to my ultimate power up guide for more tips on these. Now in terms of absolute meta that's not a wonder weapon, it's got to be the AMR Mod 4. This can be a bit intimidating for people who haven't used it before, but the damage it outputs, particularly when paired with double tap, is absolutely incredible. You may well find that you get lucky enough to get a pink one out of the armory, and if you do, I thoroughly recommend packing it and taking it into the fight with you. Now to trigger the actual boss fight, we need to head back to the mainframe room. You'll see these terminals either side of Sam and you can choose whichever one you want to interact with. After you've done that, Sam will start speaking and you've got enough time to run upstairs and pack a weapon, or visit the ammo box or even the crafting bench. But you will be locked in this room, so you won't be able to access the perk machine or anything else after you've triggered the fight. Now due to the way that bosses work in Black Ops 6 with the bosses having a damage cap, if you're going in at a relatively low round, then you don't actually need to have gone all the way to pack 3 on your weapons. You can see here that I've got in with pack 2 on both the AMR and the RayGun Mk II whilst I'm in solo. Once you hit 25 though, I would start to consider getting pack 3. Gold rarity is a bit harder to reach unless you've used a sleepwalking egg and got lucky with the purple ether tool. While Treyarch have recently buffed the yellow version of the RayGun, the blue, submachine gun like RayGun, is definitely the meta so far. So Fake Sam is going to teleport you into a large pit, with the Z-Rex stomping around. The main things to know about the boss fight is that he has crit spots in his eyes, and he's also going to be eating these toxic zombies which will get stuck on the side of his chest. Hitting one of these is going to give you a 24,000 crit spot. I'd really encourage you to hit as many of these as possible during your runs. The boss fight is divided into 4 rough phases, where you can overdamage at the end of each phase, so it's not a strict 25% chunk. The main thing is just to keep your movement up and be wary of these toxic puddles on the floor. As I mentioned in the setup phase, if you're running Environmentalist with Flopper, then you can slide through these puddles and not take any damage or be slowed down. During this first phase of the boss fight, when it's a little bit easier, I would make a mental note to work out where Richtofen is. You can actually see a marker of Richtofen next to one of the ammo boxes on your minimap if you get disoriented. Once you've dealt enough damage, the Z-Rex is going to jump outside of the pit above you. For a short period afterwards, you can continue to damage him. And that's your first phase complete. I'd now run around collecting any ammo drops or armor plates that you can see. Richtofen will throw these down periodically during the fight, and it's a great way to replenish your stocks instead of having to spend money on an ammo box. You'll see here I'm using the AMR Mod 4 to clear zombies. Whatever weapon you have, it's a good idea to split between bullet weapons helping for zombies and wonder weapons for damaging the boss. This will help to make your ammo last longer. The gameplay I'm showing here is alternating between solo and co-op games. The major difference between the two is that the boss is just much tankier in co-op games. Although in solo, if you go into the boss fight with a self-revive and go down, Richtofen will throw you another one. You won't get that in co-op. Now you aren't going to chew through an awful lot of ammo during this boss fight. That's why it's a good idea to make sure you go in with at least some money so that you can top up from the ammo box in a pinch. In terms of phases, the second is pretty similar to the first, with maybe a slightly more aggressive Z-Rex to deal with. If you find yourself getting whacked around, make use of Flopper and Stamina up to slide out of his way, make some distance, and regain your health. You may also be able to run through the middle to pick up some plates that have dropped. Once you've done enough damage to end the phase, you'll hear the Z-Rex scream out as it arches its back up. This is your signal to recuperate and try and get some extra damage on him as he jumps out of the pit. As you enter the third phase, he'll become more aggressive and you'll also see Doppelgas enter the arena. I'd recommend being a bit stricter and making some distance before turning and shooting here. It can be really hard to make distance from the boss during this phase. If you do go down though, don't panic. You can do loads of damage whilst you're on the floor and you have a separate ammunition stock to do so. I would just make sure to watch your bleed out bar so you don't lose any valuable perks whilst you're on the floor. It can actually also be a good way to make some distance between you and the boss, as he'll continue to run around whilst you're getting up. If he's permanently on your back, then you might find it easier to scoot around some rocks rather than trying to run away in a straight line. In this clip here you can see where the self-revive will drop in solo, just before I finish off the third phase. Now ideally you've saved your chopper gunner for the last phase, because this is when he becomes enraged and it's nearly impossible to escape him. If you're on solo, then you're definitely going to need to make use of your field upgrades here and really be on your toes. You can see here that I used the C4 to bring in another full power, enabling me to go straight back into damaging him whilst I was protected. Hitting the crit spots is going to be key to your success here, so if you are going to use a Frenzied Guard or Ether Shroud, make sure you're in a good spot to hit either his eyes or the toxic zombies sitting on his side. You're also going to watch out for his stomps and tail attacks. I think I actually got a bit lucky by being just a little bit close enough to him that it didn't do the full damage, but normally it would send you flying and leave your health pretty low. Now without a chopper gunner, you are really going to struggle in this last phase and likely go down, but if you do, it's the same as before. You can get massive amounts of damage done on him, as you'll have 150 rounds of ammo to do so if you're holding a ray gun. Because I'd already been down before, I'd lost a flopper perk that I had, so I was keeping an eye on a bleed out bar so that I didn't end up losing another one, which would have been Jug. But if you keep at him and keep hitting those crit spots, then eventually he's going to go down, and you will have earned yourself a shiny dino tooth, as well as some satisfaction hopefully. In this game, I'd set myself a challenge of not using any Gobblegums or using a chopper gunner, and I was really pleased to have made it. I definitely recommend trying yourself rather than relying on the crutch of a chopper gunner. Speaking of which, this is best kept for the fourth phase of the fight when he's at his most enraged. I don't actually do a fantastic job of hitting him here, and there will be times when you lose sight of him as he moves around the pit. If you want, you can use these opportunities to mop up some of the zombies, but I make sure your primary focus is on damaging the Z-Rex here. A good time to enter the chopper gunner may be after you've done some damage and are starting to take a few hits, so you can use the chopper gunner to protect yourself. I wouldn't rely on being able to complete an entire phase with a chopper gunner. You're likely going to have to do some shooting either side to actually finish the boss off, but you are going to be able to take a huge chunk out of him, hopefully making it easy enough for you to finish him off. Completing the boss is going to earn you the calling card, an operator skin, as well as the Dino Tooth artifact. And if you manage to complete this before directed mode was released, you're also going to earn the early completion call card. And if you hang around for a few seconds after the fight, you'll be taken into a cutscene where you can get your first glimpse at Janus Towers, the next map to come to Black Ops 6. I really hope this guide has managed to help you in some way and that you have a lot of fun playing a game. I've had a lot of fun at trying my hand at speedrunning some of these maps, and I'd really recommend doing that if you're looking for an extra challenge in the game. There's loads of different ways to play zombies, whether it's solo with no gums or in group with loads of gums, or setting yourself a challenge like doing the whole egg melee only. The most important thing is just to have fun, and if you're really lucky or sad like me, then maybe on your first completion of the egg you're also going to hit level 1000. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'd love to make more of these videos for you.